What's going on, guys? It's Heath from Let's Start Progress, and today I want to touch on a topic a little bit different than what I usually do, and it's the elements that go into 1v1 defending.
I've been zoning.
Before I start this video, I just want to say that if you like my content, please drop a like and subscribe for more weekly soccer and fitness content. And if you like this kind of content, then please let me know in the comment section below. Okay, so this video, like I said before, is going to be a little bit different than usual. I'm going to give broad principles. Okay, so like I said before, this video is going to be a little bit different than usual. I'm going to give my personal principles that I use to 1v1 defend people, but I'm also going to show you how a top-level world-class defender would implement these within a game. And the person that we're going to be analyzing is going to be Marcelo from Real Madrid. So for the first principle that I use when I defend people 1v1 is I'm trying to make the attacker as uncomfortable as possible. So the attacker is most comfortable whenever he has the ball at his feet with loads of time and space. Okay, so the main objective is for you to close down the space as much as you possibly can between you and the attacker so you can deny him any further progression down the field towards the goal or wherever he's trying to go. Due to the coronavirus, I couldn't get a partner to go out to the field with and actually 1v1 defend against. However, all of these elements that I'm explaining to you are YouTubeable, so you can just go look them up if you don't know what jockeying is, if you don't know what anything that I'm trying to explain to you is. Nonetheless, if you've been defending for a long time, then you know what jockeying is, you know how to close down space, and you know how to force someone to one side. But that leads me to my next point. So now we're going to talk about how to force someone to one side. So what you want to do is if your strong foot, your dominant foot is your left foot, you want to force them to know, your left side, because that's ultimately going to force them onto your dominant foot, right? And vice versa. If you're right-footed, you want to force them onto your right side because, you're right-footed. Now, if you're an outside back, then you have the inline, right? You have the sideline. So you can use that actually as an extra defender. Keep that in mind. You'll see in the clips of Marcelo in a couple minutes of how he effectively uses the inline to defend. Okay, so after you have forced the person that has the ball to one side, now what you want to do is you want to start to close down the space and keep forcing him to the same side and force him to make a mistake. Because ultimately, if you're forcing him to one side, then he's going to have to make a decision to go past you or to change direction or whatever it is, and that's going to ultimately put him in an uncomfortable and vulnerable situation. Now, the second principle to keep in mind whenever you're 1v1 defending is that you want to force him to make a mistake. You want to force him to take a little bit bigger touch than what he's been previously doing to where you can get enough space to be able to step in and tackle the ball. And so like we've been talking about in the last couple minutes, the way to do this is to confront him, close down the space, force him to one side, use the sideline as a defender, use the space and close the space and make sure that he doesn't have enough space to be able to go anywhere, and then force him to make a mistake, therefore causing you to be able to step in and intervene and win the ball. Okay, so the last principle here is to be patient, right? Whether that is you being patient to read the player that you're marking the whole game, identifying his tendencies and then capitalizing on them at the right moment, or that means whenever you're jockeying and being patiently waiting for someone to make a mistake and then you capitalize on that and then you win the tackle. Either one goes, but at the same time, it's all under the common theme of being patient, because if you're overly anxious, then that's going to ultimately end in you getting destroyed or you getting beat. Speaking of that, we're going to go ahead and jump on into the first clip here, and you can see that Marcelo is actually tackling the ball right off of the attacker's touch. So he identifies that he had made a bad first touch, and he goes ahead and steps in there and wins the ball. Okay, so now this next clip is very important for you to analyze here. You can see that the player is confronting Marcelo, and Marcelo is jockeying, being very patient. He sees that the player makes a mistake, and then he steps in and wins the ball and kind of kicks it away, right? So this is a perfect example of jockeying, being patient, and waiting for that mistake. These mistakes are not always as obvious. As you can see in this next clip, Mbappe takes a huge touch past Marcelo, and Marcelo goes ahead and tackles the ball. See, the thing about it is that this is actually technically a mistake because Mbappe took a big touch past him and it was a little bit too big of a touch to where Marcelo could come in and tackle the ball. And so that's something to really realize, is that these big touches are technically mistakes if you're able to confront it without getting beat. Okay, so now the last clip here is a perfect example of how to use the end line as an extra defender. Obviously, if you're a center back or a 6, you might not be able to do this as often, but definitely keep this in mind as something that you can keep in your locker if you're ever in this kind of scenario. Like I said numerous times in this video, these attackers are most vulnerable to being tackled whenever 3 things occur. Whenever the attacker is being closed down for space and is basically being drawn towards the end line to where he doesn't have any more space to run. Whenever he takes a big touch past you or makes a mistake and you can step in and win the challenge, or whenever he does not have control of the ball and he takes a bad touch. All of these times are great opportunities for you to step in and tackle the ball. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more weekly soccer and fitness content. And if you got anything out of this video, I sure hope you did, please drop a comment below and let me know. If you have any more questions, give me a comment. I'll respond to you. I'll respond to every single comment there is. And finally, check out the links in the description to my programs and all the latest gear and apparel. Peace.